Hello and welcome back to the channel. One of you guys recently reached out to me with an interesting clip from a podcast featuring Michael from Vsauce.
I want to talk about rainbow chess.
Go on.
Which is not a thing. My daughter says she invented it. And I don't, it's kind of like Bobby Fischer's Chess 360, his like Fischer random chess. But instead of randomizing the back row of pieces for each team, you put all the pieces, black and white, into a bag. This is how she explained it to me. And then you reach in and you pull out a piece and you put it where it should go on your side, regardless of whether it's black or white. Okay?
I thought that rainbow chess was a great idea, so today I'm going to be playing rainbow chess against Martin. Let's get started with game number 1. All right, before we do dive into that first game, I do actually have to spin the wheel, so this will be the equivalent of me reaching into a bag and pulling out a random piece, and then I'll go ahead and set up the board. As you can see here, the first piece that we have rolled is the black rook, so we'll go ahead and start on A1 and set up the pieces moving horizontally. It was said in the original clip that you're supposed to place the piece where it belongs on the board, on your side of the board that is. So we'll start with the white pieces, setting up the first 2 ranks, and then we'll move on to the black pieces doing the exact same thing. So even though we did roll a black rook, it is going on the white side of the board. I'll fast forward through me doing this for all of the other pieces. Quick intermission to explain that even though we did roll the black queen for the white pieces, one of the rules is that the king cannot start in check. So as far as I'm concerned, this queen has to land on d8. If it started on d1, white would immediately be in check. Okay, with that, we have set up the board. Now, of course, I had to walk a couple of fine lines. For instance, I couldn't place these black pawns on d2 or f2, so I had to make the executive decision on whether or not to continue to populate the second rank of white's pieces or just start on the 7th rank, and I decided it made more sense to just skip these sort of legal squares and move on to the next legal square. But this is the final position, and we'll go ahead and play it against Martin. Okay, we have loaded up the position against Martin. It isn't 100% fair that I was able to see the eval bar while I was setting this up, but I can confirm for you guys that this will be something of an interesting game because it is forced mate for white in 17 moves, which, as much of a chess player as I like to consider myself, I don't think that I will be finding that anytime soon. A couple of things to note right off the bat about the actual position. First of all, we all know that Martin never misses mate in 1. It could be some freaky pawn move that gives discovered check to a king halfway across the board, and Martin will find it. For whatever reason, don't ask me why, I don't believe that every 250 elo player never misses mate in 1, but Martin is the exception. Martin never misses mate in 1, which is critical here because in one turn he could capture and promote to a queen and deliver checkmate. In all fairness, Michael mentions in the podcast that one of the rules is that you cannot capture and promote. I personally do believe that that would make the game significantly more interesting if pawns weren't just sort of dead at the end of the board. So I will keep the promotion rule well and alive for this iteration of Rainbow Chess. With that in mind, again, Martin, if given the opportunity, guaranteed 100% will capture on f1, promote, and deliver checkmate. So my first move either has to give check to Martin or capture one of these 2 pawns, both of which I'm totally fine with doing. I'm just trying to figure out which one I prefer. It's also funny, towards the very end, had Martin rolled light squared bishop first and then dark squared bishop, this bishop would be on c8 and vice versa, this bishop would be on f8, meaning that I could capture on my first turn and deliver checkmate. In which case the promotion rule would actually be extremely critical to even give the game any sense of balance. So basically, by luck of the draw, we kind of got a reasonably amusing position. But you guys let me know down in the comments below what sort of rule set you guys think Rainbow Chess should abide by. So back to our first move, I either have to give check, which I believe is impossible. I don't think there's no promotion that I can do that somehow gives check. There's no knight move, bishop move, or rook move, and there's certainly no pawn move that somehow gives check to the king. Oh wait, I could take here and promote to a queen with check. Martin would recapture, and then I can figure out my next move after that, whatever it may be. But I do ward off this threat and win a queen. So let's do that. We'll capture, promote to a queen with check, and Martin is, of course, forced to recapture. Now for my next move, basically the same rule set applies. I either give check to Martin or I get rid of one of these 2 pawns. I definitely don't see any checks of interest, right? I don't want to sacrifice a bishop or a knight for no reason, and none of these pieces are of any use. So we're getting rid of one of these two pawns. I kind of want to get rid of the one on e2, but then Martin could promote with a queen, and there's like some really bad back rank mate ideas that I have to deal with, especially considering the knight could move to f3, knight gives check, the queen gives check on the back rank. That is double check, and there's no way to stop a knight check and a queen check at the same time, aka that would be checkmate. So I don't think I want this pawn to survive, but the problem is if I take this pawn takes my queen and promotes with check. Right after the king takes back, I don't know, pawn takes here, promotes to a queen, and there's horrible discovered attacking ideas there that I really don't want to deal with. So the question is, do I have anything interesting here at all? You'd imagine I'd lean in favor of this capture, right? Should the pawn take and promote to a queen, I can always move the bishop back. And I don't think that Martin, in a position even as critical as this, as long as it's not mate in one, Martin won't find the best move, right? So it's going to be hard for him to coordinate an attack back here, which gives me just enough time to take on g8, move the bishop out of the way, and deliver a back rank mate. So I think I'm taking here on e2. Okay, he does play what is almost certainly the best move here. Captures with promotion to a queen, threatening the king on the back rank. If I move anything other than my bishop back to f1, there's knight to f3, gives check like a knight, gives check like a queen. You can't block the queen without ignoring the knight, and you can't move the king anywhere. So that would be checkmate. I think bishop f1 is my only option, so I shall play that. He does actually capture on b1, promoting to yet another queen. So now bishop d2 is the situation here, right? Obviously I can't take with the queen because it's pinned on the back rank, and if I take with the king, queen takes on d1 is absolutely a free queen for Martin. I can probably march up the board, but then I get harassed on the third rank. I march up the board yet again, and it's more of a walk of shame until I inevitably get checkmated than an actual strategy. Wow, this was forced mate in 17, winning for white. I'm very curious to know where that forced mate lies in the position because I'm not seeing it. If I do anything like a knight sacrifice, a pawn capturing towards the center solves all of his problems. So that seems pretty useless. If I move the bishop out of the way, oh, wait a second. That's a really interesting idea. If I move the bishop out of the way with check, the knight can never take because it's pinned. So the king has to take, which at first glance doesn't seem like it helps me all that much, considering the queen can't even give check without just getting captured. But what I can do then is take on g8 and promote to a knight that gives check. If the king moves back onto the back rank, I move the knight out of the way, there's almost certainly a mating idea, and if the king walks out into the position, then I definitely can go chasing it with my queen. I have to admit, this whole rainbow chess idea I thought was going to be more of like solve mate in 3 from the first position, but this is actually a super involved game. Okay, bishop to e7 check, king has to take because the knight's pinned. Now I capture, but I under-promote to a knight to give yet another check, walking the king out even further, right? Now I have Martin on his toes instead of, him harassing me on the first rank, which he was doing quite effectively at the beginning of the game. Now to follow this up, there's no knight check with either of my knights. I can't do anything with these pieces that move on light squares since the king is very clearly on a dark square. The only move I see here to continue this initiative is rook to h6, gives another check. Now we've walked the king onto a light square. Now there's a world of possibilities, right? There's pawn to c4, there's queen to h5. I suppose there's a bishop sacrifice on c4 as well. There's knight to e7 with the king cut off of the 6th rank. There's a lot of options here now that the king is on a light square and in the middle of the board. This, I'd imagine, has to be forced mate. I have to see how exactly I'm going to calculate this. This is very tempting, right? Bringing another piece into the equation, the king is cut off on the 6th rank, so he has really no choice but to walk either further into the center or off to the queen side. Either of these two moves, I believe, can just be bet with pawn to d4 check. And I don't even think that's worth calculating, right? Anything further than that, and the king is getting absolutely ragdolled on the queen side. If check and king to d4, then somebody has to explain to me why I don't just play c3 and then d4, kind of transposing back into the original position. Okay, knight to e7 will give check. King shuffles over to c5, d4 check, and my only concern here is check, 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 check. If I ever run out of checks, I'm probably in really deep waters. Knight d5 doesn't really work because it hangs a knight, so c3 you'd imagine is the natural continuation. King goes back to a5, queen to h5. I don't love the concept of throwing my queen to the opposite side of the board to give a check, completely undressing my king on the back rank. But I don't think I have Beggars can't be choosers. I don't think I have much of a choice here. Do I have any other checks that are even remotely reasonable? Like, I wouldn't bat an eye at sacrificing a knight, but there's so many defending pieces, even this queen on h1 sees c6, that I don't think it's a concrete sacrifice. Actually, b4 could work. Oh, b4 definitely works. b4, this queen covers a4, this bishop covers a6, b5, and the rook covers b6. So b4 forces Martin to give up the queen, pawn takes back, king comes back out, and I'll be darned if I'm not winning that some way or another. The question is, where's my check after, right? Queen b3 doesn't work because the king covers, queen d2 doesn't work, bishop covers, knight c6 idea still doesn't work for all the same reasons as before. Wow, no way that's a dead end. That's kind of freaky if it is. So maybe b4 forcing Martin to give up a queen somehow isn't the best move? That seems really suspicious, but I can't find how I would give check again once the king is on b4, even after losing a queen for Martin. Okay, in that case, we're looking back at queen to h5. d5 is my biggest concern. Because, of course, I can't take with the knight, for instance, because that doesn't give check, and I'd basically be opening the floodgates for a massacre, basically, on the back rank. So after this check d5, am I just too far gone at that point? I mean, knight c6 works at that point because d5 stops the queen from seeing c6. Takes, I mean, I guess it's a sacrifice of all time. I don't know that it's particularly effective. That just seems way less convincing, though. I was way happier with b4. If only I could figure out what happens after queen takes, pawn takes, king takes. What exactly do I do to reinvigorate the checking sequences? Or, well, I suppose maybe I don't have to reinvigorate them, right? Because the queen won't be there anymore. It'll just be the rook. And if the bishop ever moves, king takes, rook takes, king takes, maybe isn't the end of the world. So maybe I can just do this and then promote to a queen. I like that. Let's go b4, takes. All of this is forced. Let me just check one more time because I know this whole thing is inherently unorthodox, but somehow I can't be convinced that an exposed king like this, can't be followed up on somehow. What a strange geometry of the pieces. There's no patterns here that I recognize from regular chess. This is all brute force calculation. This whole position feels like convincing my brain to do the splits. If my brain had never done the splits before, right? It feels like it's just all very, very novel to me. And that's coming from me, who plays chess variants day in, day out. It's bothering me quite profoundly that this king is safe. Because, I'm starting to come to terms with it, but holy cow, that is frustrating. How are you safe? You're supposed to be over here. What are you doing out here being all safe? I'm going to take a gamble on pawn to d5. Concept being that I don't think Martin is capable of stringing together tactics longer than the checkmate in one. Even though he does have that checkmate in one eagle eye, there is no checkmate in one at the moment, right? So even though something like knight to f3, king e2 would be uncomfortable, or bishop takes, or maybe even bishop d2, king takes, rook takes d1, I wouldn't celebrate it. But I'm not even sure if Martin would find it. So I'm thinking, what's the smallest change I can make to the position that would allow me to have a threat on the next turn? And I think d5 is the right move here, right? If I promote, say, to a queen, there's still at least another 1-2 moves before that queen is attacking anything, or 1-2 moves before that queen gives check. And I don't think I have the luxury of 2 entire moves. So d5 seems really convincing. It opens up the rank, so maybe the rook can come back and give a check. Maybe the queen can come to d4. I will say, once the queen centralizes, I don't think he's going to escape my death grip. Not to mention, I could even come hunting for free pieces. So developing this queen is definitely on my bucket list of things to do. The thing is, at the moment, she has nowhere to go. So d5, I think, is right. Let's go d5. Oh my goodness. Queen immediately comes to e4, puts my king in some pretty serious danger. Bishop to e2, I think, is the only reasonable move. The king obviously can't move himself. Queen to e2 is a personal death sentence because of this discovered check. Actually, queen to e2, bishop f4 is checkmate, and guaranteed Martin would find it, right? The queen would be pinned, and the bishop would cover d2, so there's no way to get out of this check. So bishop e2 is forced. Queen takes, no way. No, this works. This is fine. Queen takes back. Bishop takes my rook, but I just go back, and there's no forced mating idea. Okay, so wow, am I just getting crushed? Am I just super down on material now? No way. This knight is trapped. My promotion pawn is gone. Martin, is that you? This isn't Martin, this is Smartin. This is 2500 elo Martin, not 250 elo Martin. What? What do I do here? Am I just toast? Is that it? How do I come back from this? I can't take. I mean, I suppose I have to, but if I take this bishop, the rook just takes my knight. I escape again. And am I going to defeat Martin with a single knight? Questions. I mean, I have to go for it, right? I kind of have to take. Oh, he doesn't even take. Okay, that's the Martin that I expected to see a little bit more of. I mean, these knights are still skewered, pinned, whatever you want to call it, such that if I move one, I lose the other, because there's no singular move that would defend both at the same time. There just can't be, since they're standing right next to each other, and the way the geometry of the knights work, they could just never defend one another, starting from side to side. So I have to move one of these guys and take. I kind of wish I could like move a knight out of the way, bait him to capture, and then like give him a check that somehow forks the rook for being greedy and taking one of my knights. But unfortunately, these pawns create a very successful sort of wall on the 6th rank, so I don't think any of those ideas even exist. So then what to do is the question. Maybe I just get greedy and grab a pawn. The rook would take my knight to c5. I try to grab another pawn. Not super convincing, but oh yes! Martin has, I think Martin moved his older brother, Smartin, out of the chair and has taken command again, because this is a Martin move if I've ever seen it, right? Completely ignores the free knight, so now I can make my great escape, and somehow both knights live to tell the tale. Not only that, but en passant grabs the pawn on c5. Now we're pushing to the back of the board. Knight comes out to play. That does nothing. We're going to stop the rook from seeing c8, which means I can now push the pawn that was defending the knight and will continue to defend the knight by promoting to a queen. And suddenly we're completely winning. Okay, sure, why not? Let's give check. Oh, that's, we'll grab the rook. Thank you very much. We'll take the bishop. We'll even take his shoes and his socks. We'll take everything that Martin owns. Grab this knight as well while I'm at it. Don't mind if I grab your pawn. Is any of this necessary? No. Could I have been calculating for mate by now? Yes. Am I still going to take all of his pieces out of spite for putting me through so much stress? Absolutely. The king comes back, we'll move the knight to d5. And of course, Martin never falls for mate in 1, so it was like programmatically impossible for him to move the king to c8, because that would just allow checkmate in 1 move. But I do have check and mate in 2. And with that, we do defeat Martin in Rainbow Chess. If you guys did enjoy this video, please consider liking and subscribing. Shout out to the subscriber that sent me this idea and the link to Vsauce's original podcast. I will link it down below. Let me know down in the comments if you have a particular rule set that you think would be a good way of sort of streamlining Rainbow Chess, because I do think this is a fun variant with a lot of potential. It just needs a little bit of honest tweaking to make it, perfect and repeatable. But yeah, I really enjoyed this variant. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.